Hello everyone, Linda Israel here, and I have another stamped project. Again, going back to the requests from my Facebook group, I've been asked to make more items with stamping in it so that you can use some of your old stamp that you probably have. So to start with, I've got a really large stamp. This has been around for a long time. It's from Impression Obsession. And it is called Lottie Cottage. And the last time I checked, which was been a couple months ago, you could buy this stamp direct from Impression Obsession. Then I have a dictionary page and some Brutus Monroe detail ink. Underneath I have is a piece of kind of thick fun foam. And the reason being is because sometimes when you have a very detailed stamp, you need extra cushion underneath in order to get a good impression. The other thing that I do is just before I'm ready to stamp, especially with permanent ink, I will re-ink my stamp pad, and that ensures that I'm going to get a good impression. And to re-ink, you just have a re-inker of the same brand of ink pad and color that you're using, and all I do is just make a little zigzag across the stamp pad, and as you can see, it'll soak in really fast, and then I can start stamping. Since this is a large stamp, what I found is if I take the stamp pad and then just tap it onto the stamp, and I just basically march it across until all of the stamp has ink on it. And then I find it is easier with a big stamp if I stand up. So I'm going to take my stamp and I'm going to position it onto my paper where I want it, and then I'm going to put it down firmly without rocking the stamp, and I'm going to push. And I'll let it set for a few seconds to help that ink transfer. If you don't get a good impression the first time, probably means you didn't have enough ink and pressure. Guess what? There's two sides to a piece of paper. So I'm just going to flip this over and I'm going to stamp the other side. Now I've got a much better impression. The next thing I want to do is I want to add some color to this image, and I've got some distressed ink and some Brutus Monroe surface ink and some Fantastix. These are little blending tools that you can use with your ink pads, and I think that's pretty cool because that kind of gives you the ability to make things match your ink pads when you're working on them. So I've got scattered straw and the blending tool that I have designated to work with this yellow, and I'm going to take this and rub it across the ink pad, and then I'm going to go in here and then just lightly touch it to the page, and what that'll do is allow me to color quickly some of this image on the stamp. So I'm just choosing the flowers right now. I'm going to choose to color her hair just slightly with the yellow. I'm going to take a sharper tipped one and I'm going to put it in the rouge, the same fashion, just kind of rub it across there. And I'm going to color her lips. You see that I colored her lips there? Next, I'm going to take a brown, which will be vintage photo in my case, and do the same thing. Just pick up some color, and this time I'm going to color in the centers of the flowers, and then I'm going to go around the image and kind of highlight some of the areas, like this oval can have kind of a shadow in it. And then I'll do some of her dress just a little bit. So that's kind of giving her some color. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to attach this to a piece of watercolor paper. Because the dictionary page is so thin, it won't hold up for the next things that I want to do. So I'm going to see, alright, that looks pretty good. I'll center it somewhat. And I'm going to use the Best Glue Ever by Scrap Perfect and just apply a small bead on the back side of this piece. Then I'll center it. I'm just using my bone folder to help spread out that glue underneath the image there. And the next thing I'm going to do is use some vintage photo distressed ink and go around the edge. I've got a couple of pieces of lace here, or actually one big piece, and I thought it would be really cute to make it look like it has a little lace detail on here. So I'm just going to measure from edge to edge across the top and then again across the bottom and trim this off. So there's one piece. And the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take this to my sewing machine. I'm going to place one at the top and one at the bottom, and I'm going to do a zigzag stitch all the way around, and then I'll show you how that looks. I'm sitting at my sewing machine and I have it set for a zigzag stitch, so I'm just going to lay the lace on top of my paper. I like to sew after my glue is dried just a little bit. If you try to sew too soon, then you could rip your paper and it would gum up your needle, but once it's dry, there's not a problem. So I'm just going to put this at the top here and then use a zigzag stitch and go all the way around. When I get to the end, what I will do is lift my presser foot and then rotate it around and then put it back down and continue sewing. So there is the sewn portion. I'll come back and show you what I'm going to do next. I want to add some little elements on here. So I have a heart that I punched out of some glitter stock, just using a paper punch. And I'm going to put some of the best glue ever on the back side of this. I'm using the no clog tip because I don't want a whole bunch of glue, but I just want a small amount so that it will stick, but yet not gush out glue everywhere. And I'm going to place this somewhat to the center left here, right on top of the lace. And then I have a little word that I created on my silhouette, the print and cut feature, and I've got some vintage photo distress ink, and I'm just going to go right around the edge. Then I have a little scrap of some denim here, and let me look at see what the best way. I think go this way. No, we'll go this way because I can have it longer for later. So I'm just going to lay this on my piece and look at it, and then I'm going to just eyeball cut it with a pair of scissors, and I'll trim the end. So now I have that piece, and what I'm going to do next is use the best glue ever, and I'm going to put some glue on the back side of the beautiful. I'm going to put a little bit more than I would if it was just paper to paper, because we are dealing with fabric, and it will kind of soak into the fabric. So I'll just lay this on top. Then I'm going to add a little bit more to the back side, right down the center. And I'm going to lay it on top of the heart and the lace. And then before I put away my no clog tip, I clean off the end of any excess glue, and then I have the best cleaner ever. And what I found is if I just take a little squirt on the end, and then if I take what is going to poke down into the no clog nozzle tip and just pick up some of that cleaner and then put it back in, it won't clog up. And then any excess that I have on here, I found that if I have some ink on my hands, I can just rub that on there, and then when I go wash my hands, sometimes I don't even have to. Look, it's just already coming off just by rubbing it. It won't stain my hands as bad. I'm back at my sewing machine because I want to stitch around the word on the denim. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with a zigzag stitch and then do a straight stitch and then zigzag stitch on the top and the bottom of this word. So there's the top, and I'm going to flip it around to the other side. That's how that looks with the stitching on there. That's what the back looks like. Alright, we'll take it back to the desk and I'll show you the next step. So I'm back to my desk and I've got the elements sewn. The things I'm going to do next is I've got some eyelash yarn and I'm just going to trim a little snippet off of here. And I'm going to use the best glue ever and make a dollop to hold the fibers. And I'll put another little dot right on top. And then I'm going to use Embelly Jelly by Scrap Perfect. And what it is a sticky substance that you can use to pick up little things. So I'm going to use it for placing a gem on here. So I'm just going to use that to get the position where I want it and stick it down. And I may use my finger to help push it just a little bit further. And I'll let that sit for a little bit and it will dry. And then I want to add a couple more, so I'm just going to put a couple more drops here, and let's put one here. So I'm going to pick up some more gems. I've got one that's a little bit smaller here, and I'll place that up here. And then I have one that's even smaller. And I'll place that here. So there's my finished, stamped, sewed, colored journaling card that really didn't take a whole lot of time other than I had to stop and start to show you what it looked like on the video. But it's really fun, really simple. Here's what the backside looks like. So you can journal on the backside and you have something pretty, and it's relatively flat other than just the embellishments down here. So depending on how much you put on there will determine how bulky it gets. But I just love the way it turned out. I hope you like this idea. If you did, give this video a thumbs up, share it with your friends, and of course comment below. Do you have need of help? So if you do, write out what you're trying to do and I'll see if I can find a solution for you. If I can, I'll create a video. If you want to subscribe, make sure you hit that notification bell in the upper top corner so that you'll get notifications whenever the next video comes out. And of course, connect with me on social media through Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and of course my Facebook groups. Thanks so much for watching, everybody. Have a fabulous day, and I hope you enjoyed it. Bye.